5 months ago, a man with 1.86 million YouTube subscribers and over 193 million total views posted a community update on his channel. It was the first thing he had posted in months. He wrote, "I'm still alive." His name is John Frazer. Most people know him as Magnates Media. And the story of what he built, what almost destroyed it, and why he walked away from it, deliberately, on his own terms, with no drama and no explanation, is one of the most quietly extraordinary stories on YouTube right now. This is that story. In December 2018, John Frazer started a YouTube channel. He had graduated from Henley Business School with a degree in business and management. He was curious and genuinely fascinated by how wealth and power worked, how empires got built, how companies rose from nothing and collapsed into dust. He wanted to make videos about that. He called the channel John Frazer, Young Magnates. The name was awkward. The production was basic. The early videos had him sometimes talking directly to a camera, while others times a voice over visuals. There was nothing cinematic about them, nothing particularly distinctive. The first few went largely unnoticed. He kept going anyway. The early version of John Frazer's YouTube presence was much closer to the self-improvement and entrepreneurship space that dominated YouTube at the time. The videos focused on lessons about success, productivity, wealth, and ambition. It was one person communicating an idea. And that was an important stage in his journey, because before he became a storyteller of other people's success, he first had to learn how to communicate his own ideas. The problem, however, was that the self-improvement space was crowded. Thousands of creators were making videos about motivation, discipline, and becoming successful. Everyone had advice, everyone had theory, everyone had a message. For a young creator without a famous name or a long list of achievements, standing out was difficult. John was trying to answer a question many creators eventually faced. Why should people listen to me? The answer would come from changing the focus of his content. What John understood early, and what would eventually become the foundation of everything he built, was that YouTube did not need another talking head. What it needed, he believed, was something that felt more like a Netflix documentary, cinematic, immersive, the kind of content you do not put on in the background but actually sit down and watch. He called his videos mini-movies. He never showed his face in any of them. Instead, he built his storytelling entirely through voiceover, footage, graphics, and music. He spent more time on each video. He hired a couple of editors. He developed a visual language distinctive enough that regular viewers could recognize a Magnates Media video within the first 30 seconds of its starting. He has described those early years honestly. It took him several years before coming up with a winning recipe. There were long stretches where the work was enormous and the results were modest. He kept going not because it was easy, but because he genuinely believed in what he was building. And then, eventually, it worked. Between 2022 and 2023, something shifted dramatically. The videos John had been spending weeks and months producing started reaching audiences that dwarfed anything he had previously achieved. The secret Chinese company that owns everything reached 12 million views. The disturbing history of Coca-Cola reached over 7 million. Why Netflix is collapsing reached over 6 million. The homeless teen who created Louis Vuitton also reached over 5 million views. These were not niche numbers. These were the kind of numbers that major media companies would be proud of. And John was achieving them essentially alone, with a couple of editors on a faceless documentary channel that had started as an experiment. He has said publicly that the channel made him over $1 million in AdSense revenue alone, not including sponsorship. He landed single sponsorship deals worth $100,000. He built a paid course alongside the channel, the YouTube Millionaire System, teaching other creators how to replicate what he had done. By any reasonable measure, Magnates Media in 2023 was not just a successful YouTube channel. It was $1 million media business. And then someone decided to try to take it all away in a single evening. On the evening of May 9, 2023, John Frazer received an email from YouTube. His channel was going to be deleted. Not suspended, not restricted, deleted. Every video, every subscriber, every piece of content he had spent 5 years building, gone within 7 days. The reason was 3 copyright strikes filed against his channel, simultaneously. Under YouTube's system, 3 strikes means automatic channel termination. There is no appeal that pauses the countdown. Once triggered, the clock starts, and it does not stop. The strikes had been filed by a man named Alex Edson, the owner of a rival business documentary channel called Business Casual, which had approximately 1.6 million subscribers at the time. The original creator, a guy named Jordan, had built the channel and the audience. Alex purchased it for reportedly just under $1 million. In the years since buying it, he had posted one new video, not a documentary, a nearly 2-hour video about how he was suing YouTube. The claim against John was that across 3 separate videos, he had used the parallax effect, a standard video editing technique available to any editor on any software, on footage that was similar to footage that had appeared in business casual videos. The footage in question was a public domain photograph taken in 1985 showing a Carnegie steel mill, a photograph that Alex Edson did not own, a photograph available freely across the internet. John's editor had applied custom X to it. Explosions, smoke, color correction. When Alex froze both videos at the 1 second where they looked vaguely similar, there was a surface resemblance. When you watched the actual videos in motion, the effects were completely different. John tried to resolve it privately first. He sent what he described as an extremely friendly email to Alex, assuming there had been a mistake, offering to make changes, offering to show proof of his editor's work. Alex's response was one email containing a screenshot of the two videos side by side, a statement that John's actions would not be viewed favorably in federal court, and a demand for an apology for what he called egregious and unlawful behavior. John later found out why Alex wanted a written apology so badly. He had used the same tactic before, obtaining an apology from another creator and weaponizing it to file a lawsuit. That apology was literally displayed as the cover photo on Alex's Twitter profile. What made the situation considerably worse was that Alex had not stopped at 3 strikes. After receiving John's first conciliatory email, he spent the next few hours going through John's other videos looking for additional ammunition. He knew exactly what 3 strikes meant. John could not upload any new content at all. He had silenced John on his own platform before John could even tell his audience what was happening. John's YouTube studio now simply read, "Your YouTube channel will be terminated soon, along with any associated channels, unless you are able to resolve your strike." A 7-day countdown to losing everything. With Alex not responding and the deletion clock running, John faced a decision with no good option. There were only 2 ways to resolve a copyright strike: contact the person who filed it and ask them to retract it, which John had already tried and failed, or file a counter notification, a formal legal process requiring submission of his full legal name, address, and phone number to the claimant, giving the claimant 10 US business days to file a lawsuit before the strike is removed. Copyright lawyers John spoke with described Alex Edson as a vexatious litigant, someone who repeatedly uses the legal system with seemingly malicious intent. Those same lawyers told John that a copyright case in New York could cost around $1,000 per hour in legal fees and take multiple years to resolve. So the options were: lose everything he had built, or hand his address to someone who might sue him for years over 2 seconds of footage involving a public domain photograph from 1905. He filed the counter notification, and then, with barely 1,000 followers on Twitter, he went public. On May 9, 2023, John posted a thread explaining exactly what was happening. It received over 700,000 views and spread rapidly across the creator community. What happened next was extraordinary. Moist Krunt Taikal called Alex's actions blatant abuse of the copyright system. Ludwig Agren made a video about the situation that received over 1.1 million views. Commentary channel Upper Echelon, which had been documenting Alex Edson's history long before this incident, provided detailed research that gave the entire situation essential context. Alex had previously run a multi-channel network called Power TV. The allegations from former partners were extensive: false flagging of videos from creators who spoke out, threats of legal action against anyone who tried to leave, predatory contracts creators could not exit, withheld payments, and a documented pattern of using legal threats to silence grievances. There were allegations of attempting to trap a minor thumbnail designer in a contract with a $250,000 breach penalty. After Power TV, Alex had run a software company called Mailtag, which accumulated large numbers of reviews describing it as a scam. He sold it to 2 buyers who described what they had purchased as a nightmare. He then bought Business Casual for just under $1 million, and when it did not perform as expected, allegedly attempted to copyright the channel's color and font so he could later sue people who used similar aesthetic. When John went public, dozens of people who had been silenced by Alex Edson, too afraid to speak publicly because of legal threats, reached out to John privately with screenshots and evidence. John said the volume of people who contacted him was genuinely shocking. Meanwhile, Alex responded to the community's reaction by filing false privacy claims against every creator who had spoken out, attempting to have their videos removed, deleting thousands of comments from his own channel, and blocking his own name in his comments section so nobody could post anything about his history. He still did not drop the strike, but when the 10-business-day window on John's counter notification expired, Alex Edson did not file a lawsuit. The strikes were removed. The channel survived. John later found out that Alex Edson's own lawyers had eventually fired him as a client. In June 2023, John published a full documentary about the experience titled how Magnates Media almost got deleted, laying out everything for his audience. He ended the video by saying he wanted to draw a line under all of it and simply go back to making video. He did go back to making video. In November 2023, he published what many viewers consider his finest work, a deep dive documentary on John D. Rockefeller titled Rockefeller, the world's first billionaire. The production quality was visibly higher than anything he had done before. The storytelling was tighter. The visual design was more cinematic. It looked genuinely like something you might find on a streaming platform, rather than a solo creator's YouTube channel. It accumulated over 7 million views. He continued producing content through 2024 and into 2025. And then, in September 2025, he published what would become his final video, at least for now. The title was The Insane Truth About YouTube, a documentary about the very platform he had spent 7 years building his life on. The platform that, despite all of that, had also made him financially free. It is hard to imagine a more fitting final chapter for the first season of Magnates Media. The silence that followed was not a mystery or a disappearance, it was a decision. He wrote that building the channel had been a very fun but intense few years. That after posting the YouTube video, it felt like the right time to take a proper break. He was direct about the important part. He has not quit. He teased what he called Magnates Media Season 2, suggesting something potentially different from what came before rather than simply more of the same. He said he is in a very fortunate position now where he can make videos when he wants to rather than it feeling like a job, and he explicitly framed that as proof, for anyone currently building their own channel, that the financial freedom dream is actually a real thing. What John Frazer has done is something the culture around YouTube almost never allows for. The algorithm rewards creators who post regularly and punishes those who go quiet. There is an enormous amount of pressure that keeps creators producing content, even when the joy has drained out of it. Most creators in that position either burn out publicly and dramatically, or quietly fade as the gaps between uploads grow longer and the explanation never comes. John did neither. He built something financially sustainable enough that the channel generates income without him posting, and he is apparently traveling, living his life, and preparing to come back on his own timeline. The story of Magnates Media is worth telling not because it is a mystery, but because of what it demonstrates about what is possible and what it costs to get there. Some things get built so well that they outlast the energy it took to build them. Subscribe if this kind of story is what you come here for. We are just getting started.